How are you? You ready to jam? Let's talk about writing battle scenes using a little friend of mine, Dice. See you in a second. Welcome on back, everybody, to the edit shift. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am the dice dragon, dice goblin person you think I am. Hello there, everyone. It's good to see you, whether you're live or on that replay. Welcome in, welcome in. We are doing some developmental how to do stuff style coaching together once more, and I have a visitor. Are you surprised? No, we're not surprised. Hello, Ocarina of Time. It's like you know. It's like you know. So, as you can tell, I have figured out a way to set up my tablet off to the side a little bit. We will figure out having Loki cam back. Yes, ma'am. You see the setup. Anyway, so we're going to run over what the different types of dice are and also what you can use them for and how. Hello, Miranda. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Good to see you. We're not going to exactly cover like Dungeons and Dragons style rules, but I'll tell you some of the things I will use it for without actually using like a pre-written spell, attack, combination, whatever you want to call it. We're going to save those kind of talks for the nights when my co-author for the Merna Annals TTRPG and I, Baka, do get together, which that's going to be on the 22nd this month. So, I think you'll enjoy looking at Loki while seeing my hand. Hello. I hope you can hear me all right. Let me know if you can or if you can't, my friends. So, we're going to do a quick introduction to the most common sets of dice people will use. And I don't have anything bigger than a D20 on me. I mean, I have some pretty big D20s, as some of you know. I have some different size D20s. These are kind of some of the most common used dice in tabletop RPGs. I love grabbing them for a quick roll when I'm writing battle scenes. Mostly because we'll talk about base 10 math here in a little bit with D10s, but you can see where you can easily do a percentile grade in your head, okay? I mean, for example, since two 13s are looking at us here, these 13s here, these different 13s here, they probably are going to get you what as a grade? Like what? A C, D kind of grade? Whereas, let's see, what do we have here? On this one, we have an 18. That's a B, all right? So at least in my head, maybe that's the former educator in me coming out a little bit. But if I roll one of these, and I'll save us the noise of my big ones and just roll one of my smaller ones here as an example. If I roll that 12, okay, the person with the sword might hit, but it's not going to be a good hit. They might stumble. Instead of cleaving it, maybe they end up having to go into a parry kind of motion. You can make those kind of decisions. Maybe if you roll a 13 on a magic spell, you cast it, but it might hit the person's shoulder, not their full body. You can kind of make those quick decisions with a D20, or like I said, with a D10. That's the other most common set. And there's also, as you can see here, percentile die. Why? Well, the power of 10 compels you, as a former DM of mine used to say. So yeah, you can just use your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 and chuck a 0 on the end of it. I've seen people go that route too, just for the quick math. But you can see where you can have 4 different players who are lining up, and you might be deciding who hit what. Well, person 1 got about a 20% hit. I'm seeing the 20. You're all probably seeing the better number, honestly, with that glare. Second person goes, oh, look, a 60%. Maybe they have a little bit better time. So this could also even determine like who goes in what order. Say if I have, well, this kind of works out. Say if I have Bovary and Hadumi, they went, okay, Bjorn, your turn. Also a 60%. So our two shifters, that makes sense. What if they're in shifter mode for this battle? You can see where, oh, they're doing 60%. Bovary's doing 20. He's our archer. That makes sense. They can get up close and personal a little bit easier. So what about Frey? Frey got a 10. No, he didn't. He got a 0. Fib, he got a 0. So what's Frey going to do if he gets that 0? Now, I do recommend that if you are using this to determine who goes first, what power first, who gets over an obstacle in the battle maybe first, could also apply here. Maybe there's so many different ways you could just grab one of these sets of sizes just to make a quick comparison check or a quick decision if you yourself are undecided on how to go with that line of thought. Now, D12s, I like to use for rolling damage. Why? It just so happens that a lot of my characters randomly have like numbers divisible by 12 on their damage. It just so happens that that's the math a lot of the time with the system I used for them. Now, you can also use this if base 12 applies. Like if you score, for example, use my red one, it's easier to see, a 2 out of 12, so that's the one that's facing up to us. Yeah, they didn't do so great. So you can kind of use your powers of 12 there in exchange for quiz grades. Most people know power of 10, power of 20 easier in their noggins than power of 12s, okay? That's why I like to really use these for damage, because it is a 12 count worth of damage dealt. And normally, you know, what's 3 times 12? That's 30 some damage per roll maximum. So you could also grab some D8s. D8s are used in various ways. I like to use, because 8 represents money, when I have to calculate rewards as a DM GM, the few times I've done it, I like to calculate with the number 8 just because what 8 equals. So, oh, okay, 3 of you went into a battle. Let's see how much gold the 3 of you earned to split. And that's how I'll determine stuff like that. You could also go ahead and use this for counter checks as well against people. So if you're using 12 was your damage, maybe you can use 8 as your heal. If you want a more disadvantaged way against your, so that way your heroes aren't always perfect. I could see where if you were just setting up your own system for writing, this is how much damage, this is how much reheal, okay? I like to use these with Arya and Rochelle a lot. And I like to use these over here with my damage per second magic and melee people. So Hadumi, Frey, Neftiri, they kind of get these, Antus, they kind of get those for quick draws. Martha, hello. Miranda, writing a battle scene with dice. Exactly, and that's what I call it. Whenever I do this presentation in person, I call it faded design is what I've been calling it. And it's literally just accounting for random number generation as part of your writing, like a tabletop RPG or even some action-based RPG video games I'm looking at you, Elder Scrolls. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy. Probably would. Okay. So faded design definitely makes you think on your toes as a writer. It also allows for you to keep track of things like, for especially those of us who have sword users, it allows us to account for things like arm counts. Like, am I giving Ian and Rochelle 2 arms to punch with and a sword arm? It's like, do they have a bonus arm? So sometimes it's nice to have, like for Ian, who has a sword and casts elemental magic, or I might do this for, 1 arm, 1 magic, just to see how they're doing with those balanced, because D6 is what is half of 12. So if this is 1 hand or 1 attack, you can see where I can split that down into 2. Okay. So Rochelle, as my healer, gets a little bit different because in 1 hand, she has a sword. But what did I say I used for kind of healing? So you can see where it can get a little bit of assign a color to a character matters. I already kind of showed you some of my color assignments. Bjorn is a greenish color for a reason. Frey is a reddish color for a reason. Harumi and Lee and Neftiri, being familiars, all get different takes on purple. So you can see where the color coding can really help when you're dealing with multiple people in a scene as well. And yeah, I'm sometimes sitting here. Let me roll Rochelle's stuff. Okay, now let me go over here. I would have different dice for this for Ian, obviously. His colors are packed in my con stuff in my jar of dice for giveaways. Anyway, you can see where I would then go, okay, let me see how Ian's doing. And some of you are like, the clattering of the plate. Yeah, thank goodness my mic is on the other side of my table and you guys are hearing only a little bit of clatter. You could do this with plastic, but another thing you could do is take a towel or a scarf and then fold it up and then lay your stuff in on top of that. I originally had a dampener on here, but I thought you'd like to hear some clinking at a distance at least. Now, then there's D4s, the weirdest ones, at least for me. No, come back, oh, Frey, of course it's you jumping off world. Anyway, D4s, I will call on if someone is like poisoned or something like that. Like there's a special effect on them. There's a spell that Neftiri can do that leaves a person dazed. I will roll one of these to say how many rounds of play is that person dazed for, because it's 4. The max you're going to get is a 4. I figure that's more than fair, and of course 4 is the one that landed upwards when I went ahead and rolled that. But at least it's only 4 rounds, If we got a cast of characters and there's a couple of villains and a couple of good guys, that villain or that good guy might be okay for that 4 rounds, or at least enough rounds until somebody can get to them with a D8 and heal a little bit. So that's kind of like my simplified way of using dice just as quick draws without having to like dig up my character sheets and things of that nature. So I thought I would walk you through writing a full battle scene. So let me, you know what? We'll do this with D20s. We'll stick with the D20s just as an example of comparison because I've got a couple of them here. Didn't I have one more? Yes. Okay. So say we have 4 people in battle. Just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to rely on the D20s to go ahead and kind of roll for them. The first thing I might do is decide, okay, who has the best chance of going first? We got a 12. I didn't really roll that one. It just slid out. We got a 12. So we got 2 12s. Does anyone get better than a 12? We got a 6. And we got a 7. So the 6 would go last. Then the 7. The 12s are on the top. So I will re-roll them again. 16. And 12 again. So that would be their order that I would keep them in if I'm only using one set of dice for this. I would just say, okay, this has to remain the order I always do. And the round ends here and it restarts there. So for the first round, the big die, they decide to attack. OMG, you can't beat a 20. The rest of the people, if this guy were the villain, ironically, the rest of these guys are going to take some damage no matter what I say. Because you can only match a 20. Now, we have a 7, a 1. So I already see how this is going. And then our last guy is a 3. So our 7, 1, and 3. These 2 guys are probably going to get put on their backsides and probably are going to get the most damage when I write this scene. This guy might not get knocked to his backside, but good Lord, is he feeling this now and probably into next week. Now we're going to see what happens on the next turn. It's this guy's turn to attack, so let him go next. Go first at the top of the next round is an option, or do what I said earlier and just restart. Okay? You can make either decision. That's up to you. Big guy only got a 10. Got a 12. Ooh, see? This guy, remember? He was the one that kind of got knocked back or knocked down, but got right back up. That was our lead guy on the last round. His 12 could make sense. Let's see how these 2 who were knocked on their tookuses rolled. Ah! Somebody got a 14. And a 4. Okay, so one of them got right back up. One of them's still wheezing in the corner. Okay? You see how you can use this round by round to kind of guide you and make different decisions. So that faded design, that random number generation, does not have the same characters doing the same things again and again and again and again and again and again. Oh, look, it's Groundhog Day in every single battle you write. Okay? Now, if you wanted to add that layer on of rolling for damage. Okay, this guy over here knocked on his butt. How much damage did he have out of a possible 12? Well, he got really winded. No wonder. He only has 2 hit points left. You see how you can kind of use other dice? I added in that D12 with this D20 here to kind of be like, oh, wow, yeah, this dude's really not feeling good. Maybe somebody else in the party says, hey, it's my turn, let me heal you. Roll that D8. Okay, we're going to give you 5 back. Let's turn this 10 plus 5. Now this becomes a counter die. Counter die are great in TTRPGs because they count stuff up. They count stuff down. That's technically what these D20s here with these little emblems can be used as if you have a cause and various other reasons to use them as, okay? Like if I need a 20-minute timer set in game, or you technically could say, a 60-minute timer and have 3d20 sitting there that you rotate and turn until they all go to 0, right? So you can also determine those factors too. Okay, and use those counter dies. If you want, that's more advanced. If you're already used to using TTRPGs, probably you'll use counters. But just even this base concept of, oh, how do I track my health? Well, we just did. Just add it back up, and once they're back to full health, take the health die away. So you know that they're back at full health, visually representing, okay? So we're still fighting onward. Maybe one of your guys, I'll take away one of the blue ones, maybe one of your guys gets knocked out and there's no chance of reviving them, okay? I would remove them completely from the battlefield. Kind of like in chess, okay? Kind of like in chess. I would just take them off the battlefield completely if it were me. So we are going to go ahead and I'm going to switch us around a little bit. As you can see, I am playing around with a couple of different setups here. And I figured, why not actually do a full-on writing session with y'all and play a timer in the background a little bit while doing that. Was not possible because, well, I can't yet show a video and have that sitting over there because my screen isn't sitting over here. I didn't have a chance to set up an extra screen today to allow for me to also have a bonus timer. So I'm going to go ahead and put us into the first sprint, everybody. Maybe. Haha. And we're going to go ahead and just actually know what I could do. No, it's not going to let me do that. I thought maybe I could remove this camera. Maybe it'll let me do that. Hold on. It might not. We shall see. Thank you for letting me test the tech things. Yeah, that's what I feared it was going to do. Darn. Okay. So, how about this? I'll let you all watch my dice rolls, and then I'll share what I came up with toward the end, okay? So let's do a 25-minute sprint then, y'all. See you all in 25. magician. So my phone will just have to hog part of the display until I can figure some things out backstage. How'd it do? How'd it do? Hope you can hear me well. Hope you can see everything okay. Jen, it's been a bit there, friend, working what feels like the never-ending edits. I feel like that with one of my novellas. As you can tell, I'm adding a battle scene to book 6 or 7. It's probably going to be book 6 at this point, honestly, because it's apparently from Corin's point of view, not Sarah Beth's, according to the dice. Anyway, so I'm possibly going to put a pause because I now have to figure out where this fits in book 6, and I might be joining you in editing land too here in the next sprint. I think we are going to go ahead and do a normal screen, if that's the case. Switch. This one. E. Remove. Save. Aha, that'll work. And we're down to like the last 3 minutes of break anyway. Awesome. That'll work. So with that battle scene, I have several people in play who are people that I don't always get to spend time with, to be fair, is another reason why I'm like, before I make some hardcore decisions, I had better go ahead and check in with my documents too, if that makes any lick of sense. So let's see, Miranda. Editing is fun. I agree. I mean, it's addicting, in my opinion. I get one more chapter moded all the time. So maybe 2 pages. Hey, get those chapters done, my friend. And again, it's easy. It's easier. It gets easier to delete unnecessary words. Certain clients of mine think that I take a blade to their book in the form of a backspace or a delete key. You all should see my own works. My novels are usually 125,000 words on the 0 draft. Normally, when they're a full-length novel, and I end up hacking them down to 82 to 85. So, it's therapeutic. When you had a bad day, go editing. Yes. Martha, what program? I'm currently using Microsoft Word. I can switch and show you. Haha. In Microsoft Word, up here on the top ribbon, there is a show hide paragraph space button for editing purposes to make sure that I don't like double space, which can cause a formatting nightmare in my opinion. Or if I do a shift enter instead of just an enter, I want to be able to see those things. I forgot to turn it off for all of you. Because as an editor, I leave it on so that I fix that stuff for my clients too. So yeah, it's just Microsoft Office with our Microsoft Word, and I just have the show hide paragraph and space feature so I can see where the formatting is. The other cool thing is if you have page breaks, Control Enter on your keyboard, it'll also show you where your page breaks are and like label them accordingly. So I normally do edit in Word. And then what I'll go ahead and do, there we go. What I'll go ahead and do after I'm done with it in Word, if someone wants it in Google Docs, if you upload any Word document in Google Docs and go under File, Save As, you can change it in between a Word doc and a Google Doc that way, or Save As Google Doc applies. Jen, it's really half editing. See, this is kind of where I am a little bit with Ian, and you have to rearrange some things and fix. Oh, what? I'm rewriting the whole second half of the novella, the last 3 parts. So I feel this with you. Totally. Hope, hello! I'm glad to have you here. We are doing at least one more sprint ahead. Glad to have you. Miranda, you decided not to capitalize. See, and this is the other thing you got to check for. If you're in Microsoft Word on your keyboard, Control F is your best friend, but also I keep going back to Word. I exited out of it. Yes, I did. Darn it. I exited out of it too soon. You can also hit Control G and Control H on your keyboard, it'll bring up a little pop-up box. It'll be like a find and replace function in there too. I would be lost without that exactly for stuff like this. I love the kazoo. Anyway. Oh, thank you. I'm glad to have you here as part of the reason why behind said energy. Let me get myself, there we go. And I think this is only a 25-minute, remove that one. Go here. Video file. You know what? Let's do a 45-minute, because I think Jody Jean canceled, didn't she? Yes, according to my calendar, Jody Jean canceled. So with that being the case, I'll do one more sprint, but I'll do 45. See you in 45, y'all. Alrighty, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves into wrap up, wind down mode. Make sure you're saving your work, everybody. According to the heart breathing schedule, when I looked a moment ago, it does appear that Jody Jean has taken the evening off. Authortube doesn't have anyone either. Let me see if anyone is sprinting over on the booktube end of things for this evening. Oh yes, Bookie Monsters. Bookie Monsters is going to be starting here at 8 p.m. If you over on the booktube end of things, there is the link. Otherwise, if you want to check the Authortube and booktube things, they are, or the heart breathing schedule, they should be in my description box. If not, I can add them in. Let me know. We had some friends join in. Elaine joined in, missed the start. It's okay if you're welcome to rewind or grab the replay. We talked about dice. I'm also going to figure out a better way to film some of the dice for next week because we're talking about tracking dice and character sheets potentially. All the hugs to you. Good to see you, my friends. Jen, the dice thing sounds super interesting. I'm glad you're enjoying. You notice that this sprint is, I do the edit shift outside of heart breathings is why you're not seeing it there, Jen. Just because I usually at the very beginning, if you scroll back for the edit shift on Thursdays, I talk for like 20 minutes. We kind of go over some writerly adjacent kind of coaching things, and then we do a couple sprints. So since it's not just strictly sprints for heart breathings, I don't put it on their calendar, to be fair. I don't feel right doing that. That's just my choice. Miranda, yeah, a little different, but yeah. I don't think I've ever put the edit shift on there, if I'm being honest. I don't recall, question mark? Stacey, I have a question. Does anyone know of an app on their phone? TrackBear is one that students of mine, when I taught in K-12, used to use on Android. Check that one. Miranda, an amazing session. Thanks. You have to add a new sentence. You're very welcome. So this would be BookTube. So yes, there's kind of two different sides. Authortube is mostly the writing end of things. BookTube is mostly the reader end of things. And then, of course, there's that little bit of the Venn diagram that is both overlapping. So some people technically do belong to both. Like, if you know Book Goblin, Elizabeth Wheatley, she tends to favor both a little bit. Yeah. I can get you the links for them if you want to those playlists. Let me just go ahead and get all of them. I hear you back there. Are you standing back there, Loki? Ba-ba-ba-ba. There's Heart Breathings calendar, the Authortube calendar, and the BookTube calendar. Thank you to people who curate the Authortube and BookTube end of things for including my fellow admins and I every week. Looking at TrackBear. Oh, no! Okay, because I think it used to be. Darn it. Okay, this is something I'm going to have to do some more research on because I used to know a ton of them, but that was like 5-ish or so years ago, and I fear some companies may have changed. We'll put it that way since then. So maybe that's a future vlog or a future Thursday topic for us to look at then. Also, if you didn't know, the origins of sprints was invented by a medical school student. Suddenly makes sense why they're so effective. Someone who studies a lot probably got a lot of benefits out of it. On that note, everyone, I am hosting tomorrow night for Heart Breathings. I have it slated at 9. I do not know if I'm going to my local spiritual circle gathering tomorrow night. We were planning, I think, on a full moon ceremony to get together and hang out. But your soul writer's not feeling the greatest and probably should not spread germs. So with that being said, I will either see you tomorrow at 9, possibly 7. Double check because I'll post in Heart Breathings and on my posts tab by tomorrow afternoon for sure which time I'm popping up. Hey, That means I've been rambling for 5 minutes. Anyway, on that note, I just had a timer play in my ear. I don't know if you heard it. On that note, see y'all later. Take care of yourself. You've always been worth it, and so is your voice. Now more than ever. Dang it.